Welcome to Foundations TV, everybody. Our guest today is Dr. Kumar Sharma, who has recently published a book of his own, The Age of Ananda: Conscious Evolution to the Life Divine. We are very, very honored to have you today at our studio. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Gauri, for inviting me to be on your program.
Absolutely a pleasure. So, before we talk about the book, I would like to know a little bit about you as a person. What were you doing before this book was
I
published?
begin. Well, I came to the US in 1979. That's a good break point. I grew up in Bombay. I studied physics and mathematics and then business management and then worked for 1 year in this big consulting software company called TCS. And then landed up here in 79 to do a PhD from MIT in technology management. And after that, in 83, I worked, 85, after graduating, I worked for a few years with another consulting company, developing new training courses on innovation. And for some 25 years, I continued work in that area, working with large companies to improve their innovation process. And I also, along the way, developed a software product, got a US patent, started a company, launched a product. So I did all of the above that most of us do here. And that went on through 2000, around that time. And then I got a little disengaged for various reasons from the business end of what I was doing. I felt that the kind of innovation that business was interested in and that I was helping to improve was not always the best for the planet at large, and what kind of innovation and for whom and at what cost. I wanted that kind of a sensibility. That's correct, yeah. I started to question that and start teaching sustainable innovation kind of ideas, but the corporate world wasn't ready for that really. And around that time, I went to the Kumbh Mela, and as I was mentioning earlier, I had a powerful experience which made me go deeper into the spiritual end of things to figure out why are we here, what's going on with our life on earth. Yeah, all of us do, but I was fortunate, I guess, to be able to pursue it.
Which year was that? When was that?
Well, I have been interested in questions of this nature off and on since my high school days. I used to buy and read books from the sidewalk bookshops of Bombay in a place called King Circle. So there is a circle, okay? And there's a park, and all around there are sidewalks, and there are used bookshops. And I grew up in an area very near there, so I would go every evening and pick up used books for 50 paisa, 1 rupee, 3, 5 rupees. 5 rupees was a lot of money. And that opened my eyes to all the knowledge available through English at least. And I also found books on Upanishads, Vedanta, hypnotism, solar energy, astrophysics. And I would read voraciously. And I got very interested in physics and science at a young age. And I was always good in science and math, which is why I studied physics and math. I wanted to be an astrophysicist in college, but I didn't like experimental physics. So I tuned out of physics and got into management and all the rest. Anyway, I don't regret that. That training still is working, and it's come back to me in the book with certain other things that I'm doing now. So having come here and worked and then kind of moved out of professional work to more of a spiritual pursuit, that led to the book over the last 5, 6 years. And my wife, Saraswati, whom you have met, was my editor and inspiration and muse who supported all of this great, the work that led to the book.
Was it a hard transition though, moving away from our daily lives of, earning bread and butter?
Well, I should say that it was, we were comfortable, and so it wasn't as if I needed to go out and continue doing what I was doing. So after 25 years, I think is enough to say, okay, what do you do new and different? So I moved away from the business world. I could have built up a great consulting practice, done a lot of other things, but it didn't appeal to me. One has to do something that makes you excited. And I am excited about teaching innovation, but sustainable innovation, and I have actually done that in India. As recently as last year, I'd been there and I said innovation needs to be done in a different fashion, and people are starting to listen to that. So the book is a culmination of the experiences that happened after I went into the secret of the Vedas and various other spiritual topics in some depth, including.
Devoted your life to this,
Well, the last 10 years more so in terms of serious pursuits. And before that, almost like yeah, going on as a preparation, you could say. All of life is a preparation.
So, do you follow a particular guru?
I don't have one guru as such. I have benefited from, I've had the grace of many gurus appearing as needed to give me certain mantras and teachings and initiation and so on. If I were to be asked to mention one guru, I would say that in terms of what I have conveyed in the book and what I believe is the future of the human race and where we can all head, which is evolution to Ananda and a different physical being coming along with that, I would say it is Sri Aurobindo and the mother of Pondicherry and the integral yoga that they practiced and that they have taught us, because it talks not only about a ascent of our being to a higher level of consciousness, they are also very particular that there has to be a descent of that supramental consciousness down to the cells of the body that will transform our body if we practice these yogas properly, starting at a young age, so that our body will become lighter, the organs will fuse, we can heal ourselves and rejuvenate from within and live longer with less food intake. You know, in all these TV movies, they have aliens, bodies of light. We literally will become like that in a sense. Over time, over time. This is not magic, or this is not going to happen overnight. But the ground has been prepared. Yogis like Sri Aurobindo and the mother and their followers continue to, they did the work and others continue to do it, and they inspire and guide the work. So I would say that the Age of Ananda, which is the title of the book, relates to the time being right now, the time for this age of conscious evolution.
I see that here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yes, is that what you were talking about, the ascent?
That's right, yes, yes. So far evolution through the Darwinian process has brought us to where we are. Human beings, we have a good sense of our body and mind, and we think we are the greatest intelligence on the planet, even as we destroy it, etc. I won't get into a soapbox. But the point is, we are facing the problems that we have around us in the world today because we are stuck evolutionarily.
And we are the ones who created them.
That's right. So we only further evolution and higher intelligence through that evolution will help us work our way out of this mess. No amount of problem solving with the same mindset is going to help us solve the problem. Einstein said that the same kind of thinking that created a problem is not going to solve it. So we need a different kind of vision of ourselves, that we are spiritual beings currently temporarily going through with this body, that our soul is immortal, and that Atma or Brahman consciousness is the source of Ananda, that is our innate sense of well-being and joy. And we have to consciously evolve to that awareness as our abiding state of being, not only a special moment, and bring it down and divinize our life, our body and society around. Sri Aurobindo's greatest book is called The Life Divine in prose. And what is the life divine? The life divine is life divinized in every aspect, meaning spiritually, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, aesthetically, societally, as a community. This is the great vision. So I would say he is the greatest yogi and teacher and pioneer of transforming the world and the human race. And the world sadly doesn't pay attention. One reason I wrote the book is to bring all of this to life.
So it's interesting that you have been a student of science all along. There seems to be a perfect integration, the way you're describing, between spirituality and science. So it's not one or the other?
Science likes to think that it has a monopoly on knowledge and that anything that science cannot prove or demonstrate or measure does not exist. If you have the right idea of what spirituality means, and for me spirituality means the study, practice and knowledge of consciousness. Spirit is consciousness, let's be very clear, but not in a spooky sense, but in the sense of pure consciousness. So when you start with the awareness of pure consciousness as the ground of being, and see the world as manifested in that ground like waves in an ocean, you cultivate a mindset where you are an evolutionary being who is like a play, in this Leela. And who is playing the Leela? It is consciousness and energy. There are two polarities to our universe. Consciousness is energy built within it, and it is their Leela of manifestation out of the singular unity that was there before that gives us the universe. And there are infinite number of universes, okay, like bubbles. And we live in each of them for a certain period of time to get the learning we need to move on. We are like a video game. I have used the analogy that we are like in a video game placed by a superior consciousness in its aspect of pure intelligence and pure energy. And the physics aspect is the energy aspect. The consciousness aspect is the spiritual aspect. For me, there is no divide. They can be merged. They are one. From consciousness comes energy. From energy comes matter and all the rest of physics, energy and matter. So physics, energy, matter, the world of science, including what they see of life and biology, is where what you can measure and see empirically. But behind it is this vital energy called prana, this singular consciousness that is always there, which is Chit or Brahman. All of this scientists don't know about. But coming from there, science makes sense, but you can make sense of things science doesn't understand. You see, because you are looking at things from the totality, not from the parts. Western science and education and looking at the world is reductionist, fragmented, only looking at the bits. But in India, our tradition, the Ananda tradition, the Anandian tradition is, you start from the integral whole, which is beyond and above everything, but which is also in everything. Okay. And then everything is crystal clear. That is confusing to scientists. How do we explain wave particle duality, or how do we explain quantum enigmas about the observer? If you start from the idea, the understanding, the awareness that consciousness is everything and everything flows from there down, then you can make sense of all of these and go beyond to have even more new insights and intuition.
So it looks like there's a lot of depth in here, which is something you have to read to understand it. So one of the things that interested me, I guess the catchy aspect of this book, besides of course the depth, is also that it has fictional characters in it. So can you talk about those a little bit?
This is pure the language and the idiom is 2000 this year. Yeah.
Looks like there's characters and they have personalities, and do they go through some experiences of some sort?
These are the transcripts of the transmissions that came through me happening over 1 week.
Okay.
December 21st, 2012, some transmission started from Siddhapuri, which people started receiving. It could have been you and me or anybody else. Sure. And those transmissions, this is the transcript. So I am the transcribing agent.
So when was this published?
The Indian edition is 2012. Okay. The US edition was 2011.
Okay.
Yeah. And, no, 2013 Indian edition. Yeah. Last year. Yeah.
So first the US one.
Yeah, that's right. The Indian edition last year.
So how can people get a hold of this book?
The site is www. Age of Ananda. 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 Ananda means the bliss of pure consciousness, which is our natural innate state of joy, which we have to discover and abide in. And we are now evolving to the age of Ananda. So the website is ageofananda.net. and you can order it from there online. It's also there at Amazon, but I would recommend if people buy it from the website.
Okay. So I think this was a very enlightening discussion. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And as you read the book, we can continue our discussion.
Thank you so much for bringing this book to me. I will certainly read it, and I may even have questions. So, one last question for you, though. Just like I'm going to have questions, there might be people who have questions. So, do you teach?
By teach, I mean I go to workshops, seminars, conferences. Okay. Yeah, I go to various conferences on consciousness and Vedanta and such. I'm a speaker at such events. Also at the Sri Lakshmi Temple here in Ashland, I am the interfaith outreach coordinator. Okay. So I get all kinds of students, and from kids to old people, from all faiths coming. Wonderful. So I answer what is Hinduism and why gods and goddesses and how many, why. So all the symbolism of that. And the article I sent you, the Ganesha is an example of that. Wonderful. So I do that kind of.
Excellent. So on that note, we will end it right here. Thank you so much for being with us today.